Hi, CC Tutors. This is Cycle 1, Week 3 Art. And this week in Community, you're going to be teaching your class about upside down images. This is a little bit lighter of a week compared to some of the stuff we've done already and what maybe we have coming up. But I still want to make sure that if you have your script in front of you, that you know what to look for so that when you get to the activity portion of the class, you won't be confused. But it should be a bit easier than some of the other activities. So if you want to have this out, you can if you're following along, but it should say Week 3, Upside Down Images. That's going to be in your 3-ring binder. It's helpful to start with a refresher of what are oils and what are mirror images. That's what we've studied on Weeks 1 and 2. And you can ask a few questions, ask your kids if they can define oils or mirror images, or just if they've even seen examples out and around in the past week. You don't have to spend a lot of time on that. It's just to keep them up to date. And then from there, you can introduce what upside down images are. And I think it's important to remember that we're not just trying to position our bodies so that we're drawing upside down like a Michelangelo kind of activity. What we're really doing is exercising our brain in a way that it isn't used to, where the right brain is going to have to lead and you're going to have to recognize shapes and lines rather than what you think you see. You have to draw an image. It's just a good brain challenge, but I think that there's some interesting things that can be gleaned from this. It will probably challenge some of your students, maybe the youngers more than the older classes, but it's a good exercise. And we start out a bit easier with just tracing until we get to the end of the day or the end of the arts period where they'll be practicing doing some animals upside down. Next on your script, you're going to see I have 2 famous artworks for this week to look at. The first one is, they're actually both by Giuseppe Arcimboldo. He was an Italian Renaissance painter and he did some really fascinating portraits, all using organic type of things such as vegetables or fruits or flowers. And they're really neat to look at. The 2 that we're going to look at today, though, they can be flipped. And so you get this upside down kind of effect. The first one is called Vegetables in a Bowl, but it can also be called the gardener. And the way I'm holding it right now, it would look like a gardener. Hopefully your students will be able to pick this out. You can see his cheeks, his mouth, his nose, his eyes. He's wearing a hat. This would be like a beard. However, if you flip it over, you can, and this is like your brain has to readjust because it's probably still going to want to see the gardener, but here's the bowl now, and it's just full of all of these vegetables. If you want, you can start by showing it the bowl way to your class, or you can start with the gardener way, but your brain has to work a little harder to be able to see it the 2 different ways. So that's a neat one. And then the second one by Giuseppe Arcimboldo is going to be called the fruit basket. So the way that I am holding it right now, again, looks like a face. And he used grapes and pears and all kinds of things in a basket to look like a hat, and some eyes like olives, it looks like, or at least the size of an olive, to make a face. And then flip it upside down, and that's kind of fun. Now we do see the basket functioning as a basket, but filled with fruit. So those are a great way to get your kids already kind of in that upside down art mode. Might kind of create some fun questions that they have about that artwork. This is an optional thing that you could do. It's a book called the Upside Down Alphabet Book. Maybe younger classes might get a little more out of this than the older ones, but it should be in everybody's bin. And I just use an example. If we were doing like the letter J, it would say J turns into an elephant's trunk, a candy cane, and a monkey's tail. So there's different ways, different angles that we look at art can just change perception altogether. It is optional. I put this in your script, just kind of a fascinating history fact that there is a portrait of Philip V of Spain, which has been hanging upside down in a museum since 1940, a Spanish museum. But this is more of like a protest that they've done that because they don't look back favorably upon Philip for some actions that he took towards their town in the 1700s. But there is a artwork that people could go visit that is purposely hanging upside down. So the next thing that you're going to do is give your students tracing paper. So you'll find this in your Ziploc bag. Every student gets a piece. And for younger classes, they are going to be tracing upside down this familiar character. I hope some of your students might recognize it, but this is a Mo Willems sketch of the pigeon. Like, don't let the pigeon drive the bus and all of those fun stories. So when you get the tracing paper and you get, or each student gets their printout, you're going to have them put it in front of them so that it is upside down, and you're going to give them the tracing paper. They're going to put that right over it. They need a pencil, so they're going to have this in front of them, and then you as the tutor, you get to just walk them through just one shape, one part at a time. Start down here. You're going to think, what do we see? We see a big circle. Have them trace that circle, and then we see another circle right in here. Trace that, and now we have a dot. We have some triangles over here. The idea is to train your mind not to try to draw the pigeon, but to draw what you see. You do see shapes. We can pick out lines and those things and work your way up to the neck and then the body and the legs. And when you're done, they can flip it over. And I mean, yes, we were tracing, but they'll see, wow, now I really can tell that it's a pigeon, but when I was drawing it upside down, I had to think about it differently. And then older kids, they're going to have Pikachu, and you are going to do the same thing. Give them tracing paper, flip it upside down, give them pencils, have them start down here. We're going to work with these angled lines, the ears, and I mean, I think this one is it's a little bit trickier. There's a bit more happening here, but we're not trying to draw Pikachu the way we would think of him. We're working our way through just the shapes and the lines. Then the second part of the activity today is I'm bringing back Ed Emberly. I do really enjoy his tutorials. He makes learning how to draw kind of fun for kids, and I learned how to draw from Ed Emberly. So this book, I think the older class, you're going to find this in there, but I have printouts for all the classes, and so now we're not using tracing paper. They're just going to have printer paper that you will find in your bags. And for younger classes, you are going to walk them through something pretty simple. And fine motor skills can be limiting a little bit at a young age, so some of the younger classes have the parents lend a hand with the kids just getting these right shapes. This is probably about as easy as it gets, an octopus. And so you could cover up the rest of the paper too, so their eyes are only focusing on one thing at a time, but have them draw like this upside down gumdrop type shape. And then we're going to add the two circles, and then we're going to add the little dots in the middle, and then some squiggly tentacles. That's going to give them their first drawing. And I think there's enough paper that everybody can use a couple sheets as we work through multiple animals, or they could just put it all on one sheet. It's up to you. You could do the frog. The lion is pretty fun. So those are all going to be available for you. For the older classes, I provided, this is the dragon that Ed Emberly does. It's like the grand finale of his drawing book of animals. So it's a bit more involved, but I think they can do it. It's just, again, training your brain to have to look for shapes rather than, I think I see a dragon, this is how I'm going to draw it. So step by step, starting again with this semicircle, add this kind of squiggly line over here, and so on. Walk through it with them one thing at a time until they get the final picture. And if you choose not to start with a dragon, that's perfectly understandable. Older classes, if you want to start with something a little lighter, a little easier, that's okay too. And if you have the book in your bin, you can flip through it. There's some other fun animals. Your script probably lists some of the other ones. I put lion and alligator in there for the older classes, and bird and tiger for the younger. Work with what's in your Ziploc bag, but if you do happen to have the book in your bag, you can explore a little more. I just don't want to overcomplicate it and make kids stressed out trying to draw upside down. But there's a few more things in there. And then lastly, use glue sticks. Let the kids use glue sticks, and they can put some googly eyes on their creations and flip them over, and now they're going to have some fun looking sketches with eyes. And that's upside down art for this week. And please do reach out to me if something's missing from your bin or you have any questions. But I hope you guys have fun creating this week.